always from the heart of the city, and now on demand 24/7 on the CHFI website. This is the soundtrack to accompany a few great minds. And I'm Don Jackson, around the world on the internet. And the cold is still hanging on. Elizabeth Gouge from The Joy of the Snow, published by Coward, McCann, and Geoghegan, wrote, "Truly great men and women are never terrifying. Their humility puts you at ease. If a very important person frightens you, he is not great. He only thinks he is." A few great minds this hour with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Alannah Myles with Black Velvet, Daniel Powter, Love You Lately, and Neil Diamond, I Said. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. This hour, some thoughts on the great among us. Sidney J. Harris, published some years back by Field Newspaper Syndicate, wrote, "Some men have an oblique way of expressing superiority by assuming an attitude of humility. But as a great scientist observed about an aggressively diffident colleague, he is not great enough to be that modest." Victor Hugo wrote, "There is no such thing as a little country. The greatness of a people is no more determined by their number than the greatness of a man is determined by his height." And Peter Kostenbaum, interviewed by Polly LaBarre in Fast Company, said, "Some people are more talented than others. Some are more educationally privileged than others. But we all have the capacity to be great. Greatness comes with recognizing that your potential is limited only by how you choose, how you use your freedom, how resolute you are. In short, by your attitude. And we are all free to choose our attitude." Unquote. Great minds this hour with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Leanne Womack and I Hope You Dance. Vanessa Williams saving the best for last in 5 for Fighting with the Riddle. And I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Author Marilyn Ferguson, quoted in the December '84 issue of the Reader's Digest, said, and I quote, "Greatness is the ability to hear new information, not with a mind to disprove or disbelieve, but to see how it might be true. Whatever the idea, a new form of animation or a new theory on atomic physics, it's coming from such a different perspective that it is going to be unnerving to people. There are no great people, just great commitment, the willingness to act on the vision, and the courage to do it, even if it seems totally strange." Author Marilyn Ferguson. John Lubbock once commented In the October '82 issue of the Reader's Digest, there are 3 great questions which in life we have over and over again to answer. Is it right or wrong? Is it true or false? Is it beautiful or ugly? Our education ought to help us to answer these questions. Unquote. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. James Blunt and You're Beautiful, and Jim Brickman with Michelle Wright and Your Love. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers. Letty Cotton Pogrebin from Getting Over, Getting Older, published by Crown, wrote, "Why hope to live a long life if we're only going to fill it with self-absorption, body maintenance, and image repair? When we die, do we want people to exclaim, 'She looked 10 years younger'? Or do we want them to say, 'She lived a great life'?" And Willa Heather wrote, "Where there is great love, there are always miracles." Great minds this hour with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Ellie Slaight with Great Expectations and Elton John with The Greatest Discovery. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Some years back, George Watson in Wilson Quarterly wrote, "A great demand today is that work should be interesting." This is a recent development in human history, and workers in field or factory over the centuries would have been greatly puzzled by it. Work used to be something you did because you had to do it. Now, it is supposed to be interesting. That lies at the heart of the vogue for higher education, which cannot chiefly reflect a longing for riches, since plumbers and mechanics can often be paid more than college graduates, not to mention their professors. Unquote. And it was Earl Nightingale who once said, "Success does not necessarily mean that we must earn a great deal of money and live in the biggest house in town. It means only that we are daily engaged in striving toward a goal that we have independently chosen and feel is worthy of us as persons. A goal, whatever it may be, is what gives meaning to our existence. It is the carrot on the stick that keeps us striving, that keeps us interested, that gives us a reason for getting out of bed in the morning." Words of Earl Nightingale. I'm Don Jackson from iTunes and CHFI.com. Phil Collins and Take Me Home and Lonestar and I'm Already There. I'm Don Jackson with Lovers and Other Strangers. And finally this hour, Lin Yu Tang in The Importance of Living, and published by John Day, wrote, "After all allowances are made for the necessity of having a few supermen in our midst, explorers, conquerors, great inventors, great presidents, heroes who changed the course of history, that happiest man is still the man of the middle class who has earned a slight means of economic independence, who has done a little, but just a little, for mankind, and who is slightly distinguished in his community, but not too distinguished. Lin Yutang, from The Importance of Living. A few great minds this hour with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. I hope you will tell all your friends about Lovers and Other Strangers. Good night, sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.